Tourette's syndrome. What is Tourette's syndrome? Tourette's syndrome is a neurological disorder characterized by repetitive, stereotyped, involuntary movements and vocalizations called tics. The disorder is named for Dr. Georges Gilles de la Tourette, a pioneer and French neurologist who in 1885 first described the condition in an 86-year-old French noblewoman. MUSE defines it as below. As well as classroom and education. Students with Tourette's often function well in the regular classroom. However, many children with Tourette's also have ADHD, learning disabilities, obsessive-compulsive symptoms, and frequent tics, which can greatly interfere with their academic performance or social adjustment. Students should have comprehensive assessments to determine the least restrictive environment for them. Students may require tutoring, smaller group instruction, or special education classes, and in some cases, special schools. All students with Tourette's need a setting that is both compassionate and tolerant. The positive setting will encourage them to work to their full potential as well as accommodate their needs. Some accommodations that may be needed are added time needed to complete tasks and tests, small groups, oral exams, if the child's symptoms interfere with their ability to write, and in some cases a private setting with exams outside of the classroom. Strategies and accommodations that you can use and that I use are minimize handwriting, have computer available, supply printouts, allow calculators, use, when appropriate, tape or reader books, use the headphones to block noise, break into smaller segments, and ignore the minimal behaviors. Strategies for materials is use as few words as possible when instructing. Check for that they have an understanding of what you're saying. Present a syllabus, if possible. Use key phrases such as "this is important" or "listen carefully." Avoid a lot of visual distractions and have a cue for the student if they need to go to a prearranged area. Strategies for the classroom environment are to have the student seated to allow for physical tics. Have only needed objects in the desk. Let the student have duplicate books at home to help with organization. Have a study area available for them. Educational rights are listed below, starting with IDEA, FAPE, and FERPA. I'm not sure what happened to the screen here. Sorry. My questions to you. Is Tourette's syndrome easy to diagnose? Are symptoms always easy to recognize? And did the school have a right to leave it out of the IEP of the student that I'm going to explain to you in a moment? And below are some links. The activity that I did with my student was write-in. I selected these questions previously because I have a student that we had no idea has Tourette's syndrome until I went in and I reviewed his file further than the IEP. His Tourette's was minor compared to others. His Tourette's is localized in his hands as documented by the physician. In order to accommodate the student, I researched the strategies in the links, modified his writing requirements, and I also arranged for him to do his writing throughout the day and not all at one time. He loves to write, so I have to modify and be aware how hard he is working. He types very slowly, and it tends to frustrate him, so he would rather write. If he writes for too long, though, his symptoms start to act up, and his hands will shake a lot, therefore causing him to become frustrated and embarrassed. The writing assignment fell under Standard 1 that I used for my lesson on the writing of a paragraph. I made modifications for my student so that he could demonstrate his understanding and his abilities. He also was required to self-edit, and then he got teacher edit, and this took several days compared to the other students that did it in 2. On the right was part of my mini lesson, which is the house. And in the house, I had to explain that you build a foundation before you can put a roof on. Therefore, you have to have the supports before you can put a roof on, or before you can have those. You have to do it in steps. You start with the basics. On the left is a sample of his writing. As you can see, it's kind of all over the place. As you can see from the sample, this assignment took some time for the student to do. He is a very hard worker, and he worked through it. He also is a child that has ADHD, as well as a Tourette syndrome, and is identified under other health impairments. When he first came last year to our school, the center school did not have it documented about his Tourette's. I found it in a current doctor's report, therefore prompted me to modify his work further. By doing this, he became so much more relaxed, and his grades improved with the modifications I made, mostly for his writing. It also allowed him to be more successful in his other classes, such as science and social studies. He has wonderful ideas, but he just needed the added support to express them in a different way. And again, when I converted over the documents, this screen messed up as well. But for further information, you can go to these links, as well as at the bottom there are some excellent sites with a couple of videos that will show you some minor tics in children. And here is my work study. Thank you for watching my video.